flights in. We're going to go X-ray 10 to Jasbo to Fort Myers, Page Field. Got all of our navigation in. Flight plan is filed. We'll just activate that on the iPad as soon as we take off.
At the time of this flight, I had about 25 hours of training time in a Cessna 172R. I had purchased my own Cessna 182P and had trained for a little over 50 hours in my own plane. This was my first cross-country solo flight from Stewart, airport code KSUA, to Fort Myers Page Field, KFMY. We had flown the exact same trip the day before, my instructor and I together. He signed off, gave me my endorsement, and this was me executing my first solo cross country. Remember that. Student pilot, first time around on a solo cross country. So I had been to, close by airports a couple times, quite a few times actually, practicing touch and goes and things like that. But I hadn't been so far away from home in the airplane on my own yet.
Treasure 9, Bravo Golf, just stay on the right side there. There'll be traffic exiting here shortly.
Since this flight was over an hour long, I'm going to spare you all the boredom of the spaces in between, taxiing, waiting, run up, all that good stuff, and get to the good part, the flying and the emergency descent.
Stewart Tower, Skyline 1359, Mike, holding short runway 12, student pilot on cross country, and we're looking for a west departure, and probably going to head down the coast until it clears up a bit.
Cessna 1359, Mike, Stewart Tower. Roger, your departure procedures approved as requested. Runway 12, clear for takeoff.
12, clear for takeoff as requested. 59, Mike. All right, we're good to go. We're going to ride down the coast. They told us we're cool to do that. We're squawk 4767, and we've got our frequency in. As soon as they approve our frequency, we're just going to switch
Stewart Tower, deliver 80
switch comms on our comm 2 here. All right, gauges are looking good.
8034 Mike,
We'll line up on the center line.
Towards the southwest, did I say southeast? Sorry.
We're on the center line. Feet are to the floor.
Traffic's just in front of you there, 1,900.
And we're going to give her full throttle.
Our guy's going to call me next. And
We are charging.
West for taxiway also.
Oil pressure is right in the middle.
We got
Oil temp and cylinder head temp are coming up. And we're looking for 65, and we're at 65. We're rotating.
It's course 34 Mike, current winds 260 at 3, altimeter 299 or 2. 99 or 2, the wind is 260 at 3, thank you very much.
All right. Now we're talking. All right, our prop. We're going to let that adjust into 2600. And we're going to pitch for 75.
Yes, southwest of the field, and we're 7 miles out with Ada Hotel, booked up inbound. Treasure full name of Papa, Stewart Tower, Roger. Proceed east-northeast bound for wide left base.
Looking for clouds. And we're going to get up close to these, but over here to the right, we are clear. So we're going to go ahead and make our turnout.
Treasure 9 at Bravo Golf, pilot, report base to the clouds or top of the clouds.
Tops look like they're 1,500.
Hey, you remember what the bottoms were?
Clear out this way.
No, unfortunately not. Sorry, 9 Bravo Golf.
We're going to
Just push it for Mike base to the clouds.
climb out. And we are looking for
About 750, maybe 800.
8,500.
Thank you. You're not a Bravo Golf, frequency change approved. If you like radar service, Palm Beach is on 123.62.
Beautiful day. We'll see how it looks out west here. All right.
So it's 5020 Romeo. You going to do another one, or are you turning inbound now?
Back off to 25 inches.
We got channel from here. Okay. 20 Romeo, no, I was just trying to plan.
RPM.
You could land.
130, thank you for your help, sir.
And we're going to continue to pitch for 75.
South 34, Mike. It looks like the bottom here to the southwest are around 700, 650, maybe a little lower to the northwest.
All right. We're going to go ahead.
Mike, thank you.
Go ahead and turn out to the west here. We're looking good.
No, it's getting close, though.
Approaching 2,000 feet.
Cessna 1359 and Mike, you should be above the weather now. Contact Palm Beach departure. Have a good morning.
We're above it. Thank you. 500 Mike. 500 Mike. All right. We're on Palm Beach departure. Palm Beach departure. Skylane 1359 Mike. 2,300 feet. Climbing 8,500.
You got on Mike, Palm Beach departure, ident, altimeter 2989.
Great. 500 Mike. Ident.
Mike, radar contact, reach out to Stewart Airport and proceed on course.
500 Mike. All right, so we're going to continue to pitch for 75, doing our climb out. Looking to rejoin our course here. And we're going to put a little nose up trim in. We are well above the weather.
Along with being my first solo cross country, this flight also represents the first time I used VFR flight following on my own. Without having my instructor there to help me listen on the radio, it took a little more awareness on my part to pay attention to the radio. It was a little bit of a distraction. I will say that I use VFR flight following every time I travel somewhere outside of our little ring here. If I go west of Okeechobee or south of Palm Beach Gardens or north of Fort Pierce, I use VFR flight following just because you always have someone on the radio with you. It's kind of nice, and it did help me out quite a bit being able to get into the airport during my emergency descent. So highly recommend VFR flight following.
And departure of MX 726 Mike Juliet 1100 on climb 2000 100 on the head. 76 Mike Juliet, Palm Beach departure, radar contact, climb maintain 5,000. 5,000 for 726 Mike Juliet. Upstairs 315 has traffic inside. Cap 315, roger. Contact tower 128.2. 128.2, 315.
Good morning, Treasure. Correction, Skyhawk 789 Bravo calls. 2010 miles southwest of Stewart, requesting at 2,500 feet, requesting flight following to India, Terra.
Alright, 4,500. We're looking for 95 on the turnpike, which is right there below us.
Treasure, correction, Skyhawk 9 Bravo calls.
That's 6 Mike Juliet, from up heading 290. 290 full.
95 on the turnpike.
Report 22, you got any updates on the weather?
And there's a canal. Alright, so we're over checkpoint 1 right now.
Number 9 or Foxtrot calls, Miami Center 132.25. 32.25.
So during this flight, you'll see me repeatedly refer to the stack of papers that I have in my hand and make notes on them here. What I'm doing is going through my flight log. I'm VFR, which is visual flight rules. I'm looking for landmarks on the ground, crossing over canals, looking for power lines, railroad tracks, roads, Lake Okeechobee, landmarks like that where I'm supposed to be navigating. VFR. When you see me looking at the phone, that's not for navigation purposes. That's looking for traffic on the ADS-B, just making sure I'm keeping track of the other airplanes in the sky around me. It's a wonderful piece of technology that you might as well take advantage of for safety's sake, while still learning how to calculate and navigate using dead reckoning and pilotage and doing it all by hand. So you always have that to fall back on if your electronics fail.
I have more important stuff going on up here than they do.
1,500 Alpha.
They can wait for me.
To contact 1 miles southwest of the studio. Stay off the 2 Palm Beach Altimeter 29901.
I find it interesting that so many pilots are nervous about communicating with ATC and keeping them waiting. As far as I'm concerned, air traffic control is on the ground working for the pilots. The pilots aren't working for them. While they have a lot to do and a lot to coordinate, we have life or death situations going on in our airplanes. And the way the saying goes is aviate, fly the airplane, navigate, know where you're going, communicate, talk to ATC. So we'll fast forward through here and get to where I level off at 8,500 feet, which is my top of climb, and continue the trip from there.
All right, we're going to level off here at 8,500. Palm Beach approach, Skylane 1359 Mike, 8,500 feet.
213, Mike, Palm Beach approach, 2 morning, Palm Beach, 72999.
29er 901, 59er Mike. All right, so we're leveling off here, 8,500. And we're going to pick up some speed. We're going to close our cowl flaps. Going to back off to 2,300 RPMs. We're at max manifold pressure. This will bring our pressure up a little bit. We're going to lean her out. Trim for straight and level. All right, we're going to turn it.
Proceed traffic, 1 o'clock and 4 miles, here's westbound, 4,800 feet, the type is unknown.
Looking at it, Alpha.
220. All right, we can see the lake. All right, our Pratt Whitney airstrip is behind us. But Line Highway, and there's the Pratt Whitney airstrip. All right, so our time here, 9:22. If our flight following is giving us our updates on altimeter settings.
November 4 Bravo, is going to maintain 4,000.
Got traffic around us, but they're all at way different altitude.
For Eagle 50, traffic no factors, is going to maintain 3,000.
3,000, Eagle with.
Navy Hotel Romeo 510, I think it's under taking handoff. Radar services are terminated. You can swap VFR to just Miami approach with frequency on 119.7. Please be able to tag you up on 19.7. Have a good day.
Alright, there is our doohickey there. Alright, so
For 8 April, whiskey actually traffic no factor difference.
we're a little bit west of our originally planned course, but we had to dip around some clouds and stuff, so got the lake.
November 4 Bravo, we set and maintain 1,500.
Got the lake off our right wing here.
After reaching our cruise altitude of 8,500 feet, execute the cruise checklist and start enjoying the flight. At this part, you just see me turn around and notice that my GoPro camera in the back hadn't been turned on yet, so I turned that on and hit the record button. So now we'll start getting some other angles of view in the airplane. So I continue now west across the south side of Lake Okeechobee, crossing past Pahokee, Belglade, LaBelle, and heading out towards KFNY.
We're 373 Alpha Romeo Palm Beach.
Yes, that's
The 373 Alpha Romeo, squawk 0240, what's the type aircraft?
Alright, throttle prop mixture and instruments. Always checking the instruments.
So you just heard me say it in the video. You're going to hear me say it again. And you really just can't say it enough. Always check your instruments. The obvious instruments are your flight instruments, your 6-pack, like your attitude indicator, your altimeter, your airspeed indicator, all those things that tell you the condition, your flight condition, your attitude, and how you're flying the airplane. But also your engine instruments, making sure that you're paying attention to your fuel gauges, paying attention to your cylinder head temperature, your oil pressure, your oil temperature. And in this case, what helped me out was keeping an eye on all those, because I caught the fact that the altimeter gauge was discharging. So we're going to throw this little circle up here on the screen for you so you can see where those gauges are on the airplane. And then we're going to fast forward up to right before we have the failure, put that circle back on there. And you're going to watch in this dash on the top middle gauge. There's those two strips across the dash there. The top middle gauge, you'll see the needle click over to the left, indicating that's exactly when the alternator failed and started the discharge. And it's just a couple minutes after that I notice it and begin the procedure of getting the airplane on the ground so we can get this problem worked out. Because I was at such a high altitude, I had to start a descent to be at an appropriate altitude on my approach to Fort Myers. I didn't want to drop out of the sky like a rock at 1,000 feet per minute, so I decided to start my descent further out to get down through the clouds. What I didn't realize was the cloud cover was down so low, I wasn't going to be able to fly any higher than 2,500 or 3,500 feet. So I was working with ATC, trying to find an altitude where I could fly, at a high enough altitude to be safe and low enough to be under the clouds. While I went back and forth and tried to pick my way through the clouds here with ATC, we were going back and forth and discussing what altitude I was going to be at. They would request me to go to an altitude. I would get to that altitude. There were too many clouds at that level, and I wasn't able to stay there. I found a good altitude at 3,500 feet. We were going to climb back a little bit to 4,500 feet to give us some more distance between those clouds because they were starting to build up higher ahead of me. And I was basically communicating that to ATC about the time that we lost the alternator. So it was during all this time in heavy communication with VFR flight following air traffic control that the alternator started the discharge, and I didn't notice. I'll put the circle back up here so you can pay attention exactly where that gauge is, but keep in mind that you'll actually hear a sound when the alternator kicks out. You'll hear like a buzz, like an interference noise. That's actually in the recording. It wasn't on the headphones in the radio, so I didn't actually hear that change in pitch of the recording or the audio. That wasn't in my headphones. That's just in the recording, something on the GoPro camera.
We're going to go back to a little bit of a climb here because
November 59 Mike, turn 10 degrees right.
59 Mike turning 10 degrees right, unable to get to that 2,500 foot altitude without while maintaining VFR, so we're going above the clouds.
59 Mike, Roger. Just maintain VFR.
Maintaining VFR, 59 Mike.
So if you missed the exact time of failure, you can rewind the video about 20 seconds and watch as the upper middle needle kicks from right to left, and you hear a drop in pitch on the radio interference on the GoPro camera. It's right in the middle of my radio transmission with ATC. I'm in the middle of flying the airplane. I do a periodic sweep of all the instruments on the dash in the airplane. It's a strong habit that I've created for being as new of a pilot as I am. And it takes me about 3-4 minutes to catch it, but you'll see me when I look over and awkwardly pause in a few minutes here and look at that instrument and think, is that really what I'm seeing right now? And it takes me about 5 or 6 seconds to think it through and then start reacting to the issue and solving the problem.
Approach eligible 2065, 14 to 10,000 by Nova. We'll cross this 10,250 knots. We have 0. JetBlue 2065, Fort Myers, first altimeter 29990. Depart Momo, direct flight off is in the arrival. 2990, and then depart Momo for direct flight off. What was the altitude? JetBlue 2065, no altitude, just 10,000. Copy, I'll maintain 10,000. Number 95 chassis at 1,000 feet, descending to 1,000 feet due to clouds and resuming flying to way. And that was 5 Alpha Charlie, correct?
So I can poke through the clouds here, but I'm going to be flying at like
5 Alpha Charlie.
1,500 feet.
It's going to be really hard for me to give you services. Radar service terminated, squawk B, bar free, change through. Number 95 Charlie, Scorpion, bar, okay. And it's going to be the same for Charlie. For Charlie, Roger, radar service terminated, squawk B, bar free, change through. Cooking VFR, frequency change approach.
We're going to go 4,500 feet.
Scott 3979 Quebec, Fort Myers.
That just knocked us off our course and our time and everything, but rather be safe.
November 920 off Charlie, Fort Myers departure, radar
So Caloosahatchee Canal is right here.
5,000. November 79er Quebec, squawk 0447. Advise we have information November, Punta Gorda, wind 060 at 3.
And we're about to cross it. So we're south of our
November 79er Quebec, squawk 0447. Roger, and say your position.
So it's been a couple minutes. I've noticed the issue. I think for a couple seconds, should I try to troubleshoot it or just get on the ground? And I quickly decide, let's just get on the ground, go to the nearest airport, and grab lunch while we think about what to do next.
R2 Lima Victor, disregard.
JetBlue 2065, descend and maintain 9,000.
That's a 9,000, 2065.
All right, so we're going to disengage our autopilot. We have a discharge. We're going to look for our nearest airport. X-14.
November 332, turn left heading 140, short vector for traffic.
140, 16332. Miami Center, Skylane 59er Mike. We just lost our alternator. We're going to be diverted to X-ray 14 airport.
Mike, roger. No weather available for the X-ray 14.
All right. X-ray 14. Direct 2.
Number 59er Mike, Fred.
59er Mike. Yeah, we're just going to try to poke down through the clouds here, and we're putting our navigation and trying to get to the airport as quickly as possible.
59er Mike, roger. Do you require any assistance?
No, but I am a student pilot on my first solo cross country here. I appreciate if you stayed on with me.
59er Mike, no problem, sir. The airport is currently after 1 to 2 o'clock and 5 miles. Mike, no weather information available for LaBelle. Is full page field wind 0903.
All right, so we're going to try to poke through these clouds here.
Mike, LaBelle Municipal Airport is 2 o'clock and 4 miles.
All right, we're going to turn off our autopilot and our trim. We're going to switch to 126.
7 at 9.8 320.
And over to COM 1. We're going to turn off COM 2.
332, zoom navigation 16332. JetBlue 2065, descend and maintain 5,000.
Descend to 5,000, JetBlue 2065.
November 59er Mike, do you have the airport in sight?
We're still getting through the clouds. 500 Mike.
59er Mike, roger. 12 o'clock and 5 miles.
12 o'clock and 5 miles. He doesn't know what my heading is.
Fort Myers approach, Cardinal 52765.
Aircraft on for VFR flight calling. Remain outside Charlie Delta airspace and stand by.
All right, so we're looking for X-14.
JetBlue 2065, cross Wyckoff at 5,000, then descend and maintain 4,000.
Wyckoff at 5, then down to 4, JetBlue 2065.
JetBlue 2065, contact approach 134.42.
All right, so we were at 1,000 feet. We've got like a 1,000-foot ceiling here. So we're going to do a little approach work here. Miami approach, I have the airport in sight, 500 Mike.
59er Mike, roger. Radar service terminated. Clock bar, free changes approved.
500 Mike, thank you.
59er Mike, do you need the phone number here to call us when you're safely on the ground? Would you like that?
Go ahead with that.
239-768-1377.
239-768-1377, 500 Mike.
Thank you, sir. And change advisor approved. Give us a call when you're on the ground. And 7302 is there for my departure radar contact. Climb maintain 10,000.
All right, so we're at 1,000 feet. All right, we've got Belglade out our left window here. LaBelle Municipal. And we are going to go full rich, prop full forward. And keep an eye out for birds and traffic because we are low. Alright. I'm going to trim for 1,000. There's birds. Alright, so we are on 122.8. One. Get this bird on the ground before we lose all of our electronics. Pre-landing checklist is good. And I need to get on here. Weather.
I'm essentially flying a really wide downwind right now for runway 32. I can see the windsock from where I am. The wind is good for the runway that I'm setting up for, and we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm getting weather, and I've already gone through the landing checklist.
LaBelle traffic, this is Skylane 1359er Mike. We're making a straight in for runway 32 with a dead alternator. So this is likely our last radio call. Runway 32 for 1359er Mike at LaBelle traffic.
And LaBelle traffic, Skylane 9575 Hotel. We are at 6 miles to the southeast on a practice GPS runway 32 approach at LaBelle.
Alright, we're in the white arc. We are way high. We're pull power out. On glide slope here.
Folks, copy, guys, left down with 1 April.
Short final, runway 32. Alright. Set her down nice and easy.
And LaBelle traffic, Skylane 9575 Hotel. Good about 4 miles on the approach for runway 32. The 32 approach at LaBelle.
Not a bad landing.
LaBelle traffic, Blue Light Skylane is inbound for landing 14. We'll be crossing crosswind and then downwind for 14. We're 2 miles southwest of the airport.
And LaBelle traffic, the Skylane 9575 Hotel will be circle to runway 14 at LaBelle.
LaBelle traffic, Skylane 1359er Mike, clear of runway 32. Call Miami Center here to let them know I'm safe.
LaBelle traffic, Blue Light Skylane left downwind 14. LaBelle.
Hi, this is Derek Ogden on Skylane 1359er Mike. Just calling to let you guys know that we made our emergency landing. We're safe on the ground. Thank you.
LaBelle traffic, Cessna 732 X-ray Tango Centurion, We're approximately 6 miles to the southeast, and we're...
Oh, hey, buddy. Well, I got a, I can check another airport off my list.
In an effort to salvage this day and still try to finish my cross country, assuming that the issue was an alternator belt, I reached out to my instructor, who is also an A&P with an inspection authorization, and asked him if he could fly out with a new belt and help me get it replaced on the airfield. Other than strong skills building and practice, the best advice I think I could give anybody thinking about getting into aviation is have great friends. That'll give you a great support system. When your friends need something, do it for them. Because if you're there for them, they'll be there for you. And thank goodness for my friends and my support system, because I would never have been able to get my private pilot's license without these guys. Especially my instructor, Mike.
All right, so this is how my first solo cross country is going. As you'll notice, I'm on the ground. It's a little weird walking across a runway, but as you can see, the old bird is back here. And we were en route from Stewart to Fort Myers. And because of my constant gauge checking, noticed that the alternator was no longer charging. We were on VFR flight following. So I called Miami Center and said, hey, we were going to go land at Fort Myers, but now we're going to land in LaBelle. So, not an emergency landing, but a diversion. So, it was definitely a good learning experience. Pay attention to your gauges. Catch the problem before it becomes an emergency. So, anyway, in the meantime, it's sitting over at the shop here, and the guys here are really nice. I'm gonna wait for the new belt to get here, which should be here in about 40 minutes. They're gonna put a new belt on for me. I ordered 2 belts, and while I'm waiting for that to get here, the plane to get fixed, I'm gonna go to the nice little FBO out here and get something for lunch. So it could be worse. But yeah, I was able to get on the ground before we discharge the battery too much. So we'll be able to throw another belt on, start it up, do a run up, charge the battery back up a little bit, and then take off. So we never lost the radio or any of that stuff. I shut off all the unnecessary electronics in the airplane and came in for a straight in on runway 32 here. So it was a little hairy trying to poke through the clouds because there's a lot of them up there, and it was actually worse before. So had to poke through, slow the plane down, descend, get down to the runway, and we were able to get it down quickly enough that didn't discharge our battery or lose comms. So anyway, interesting solo. So we'll see if I get this fixed in time. We'll check the weather, and hopefully I can get out of here VFR and maybe even finish the cross country today. We'll see though. All right, here comes the man himself. What service, I'm telling you. He's just excited he got to fly today.
So the issue with the alternator was indeed a thrown belt. Mike, my instructor and airplane mechanic, was able to bring one out. We replaced it on the field, fired the airplane up, jumped back in, flew to Fort Myers, did a touch and go, headed back around the north side of the lake, flew over Okeechobee, and then all the way back into Stewart. And that officially completed my first solo cross country and was able to take one more step forward to get my private pilot's license. A big milestone on my journey and an interesting way to get it checked off the list.